Imagine having the opportunity to pick the brain, so to speak, of somebody who's had $9 billion worth of transactions. 9 billion. Not only that, but he was the star, the star of A&E's hit reality TV show Flipping Boston. He's now in private equity, has a ton of experience in real estate, someone who you're going to learn from. I'm excited to introduce to you today's guest. It's going to be a special one. Stay with us. You're definitely going to walk away from this episode thinking bigger. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Podcast, where big thinking, high achieving real estate agents come to build successful businesses and significant lives. All right, welcome back, everybody. Very, very excited to introduce today's guest. His name is Dave Seymour. He's out of the Boston area, and he has a well-known name across the country. He's a TV star and someone who has so much experience, $9 billion worth of transactions in real estate. Dave Seymour, it's a pleasure to have you on the Think Bigger Real Estate Podcast today.
Hey, Justin. Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. It's funny. Every time somebody does an introduction in one of these formats, I'm always looking over my shoulder like, who the heck are they talking about? It's like it doesn't feel like me, but I guess we've put feet on the street and done a little bit of business in that time. So appreciate you having me on. Yeah.
Let's kick it off with just a curious question of mine. Obviously, you've done a ton of real estate. How much did your appearance on A&E and your hit reality TV show, how much did that really propel your career forward? Was that a big part in it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Think about what we do in the social media world, right? Everybody's fighting for attention. Everybody wants the expert status. If you go into the seminar world and the event world, the conference world, there's somebody teaching you how to write a book so that you can be an expert. There's somebody teaching you how to, start a podcast, go figure, so that you can be the expert. We're all fighting for that expert space. And what was interesting with the TV show is we came into that right as the market was kind of like tanking, 2010, 11, 12. And we were able to come out of that change, if you will, in the market cycle as the perceived experts, because we got a TV show. What you do with that perception is really what's important. That goes back to your marketing skills and your ability to position yourself in the right rooms, talking to the right crowds to be able to accelerate the work that you did from that TV show. Look, there's nothing better than sitting on Squawk Box with Joe Kiernan and Becky Quick, right? As the expert in the market. There's nothing better than, doing something silly with some paint colors on the Today Show with Hoda and Kathy Lee, like we did that, Rachel Ray. Being able to have those photographs in reality and then leverage that, it's huge. It just opens up doors, Justin, right? It opens up doors. I'm on your show under the premise of a reality TV show that hasn't aired in many years, right? But still has a little bit of a cool factor attached to it. So yeah, it's important. It was important for sure.
What advice would you give to people who maybe don't have the opportunity to be on A&E, or maybe we're understating or overstating the difficulty of actually landing something like that? Tell us, if you were in the shoes of a really good real estate agent and wanted to leverage that kind of star power of media, what advice would you give?
Yeah, that's a great question. We all have, especially in sales, because that's really what we're in, whether we're on the agent side, whether I'm on the house selling side, whether I'm selling money, whether I'm selling opportunities, we're all in sales. So to be able to truly identify what is your KPI, right? What is your performance indicator? What's special about you? What's your inert skill set? And then magnify that as best you can. And only you can determine what that is. People would, sell grandma for an opportunity to be on a reality TV show, which always makes me laugh, right? But understand that genre is swamped right now. There are so many, home and garden TV shows around houses, and it's got its own flavor, right? What we did is we came at it with an element of brutality to separate ourselves from the rest of the pack. So any advice I would give, and it's really marketing advice as much as anything else, is to differentiate yourself from everybody else. You've got that realtor out there. She's in her late 50s. never done any marketing, driving a Mercedes Benz, wearing her high heel shoes, talking about hardwood floors and carpet and blah 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 blah, but doesn't understand the details in the numbers of buying, fixing, flipping a house. So could you pigeonhole yourself as the investor's realtor, right? Could you then learn those strategies, those philosophies, those understandings of the fact that as a flipper, I would walk away from 100 properties to do one? Whereas the uneducated realtor who's just a realtor, and no disrespects to the profession, I'm talking to realtors primarily, but that mindset of listing properties to be able to make a living. Well, in the investment world, it's different. So how do you differentiate yourself? What's different about you? Are you the young gun? Or are you the cougar of real estate, right? Like you've been around so long and you got game. But you look at $1 million listing and LA listing and London listing and New York listing. It's all doo-doo caca, man. There's no reality in that. So find your specific power. What's your superpower? Identify it, work on it, manifest it, and then implement it. And I promise you, magic will happen. And I know that's kind of general, but we only got a few minutes. It's a good start, though.
Well, it's not general. Okay, and here's what I took from this is that if you try and be known for everything, you'll be known for nothing, right? Actually
Correct.
get very clear on what it is that you love to do, that you have even a slight unique competitive advantage, and go deep on that. We have the world at our fingertips now with whether it be Google search, whether it be ChatGPT, the ability to really become a true expert and share that on the regular and get really good at that. And people you'll be known for something. So I appreciate you saying that. Obviously you became famous for flipping. In fact, question that I'd love to ask, which is how can a real estate agent who's serving flippers be valuable to them? Like, what does that look like for somebody?
That's a fantastic question, because I promise you, there are a lot more realtors who are invaluable to us as flippers than there are ones that are valuable. What I would do is use a basic format. I just sent this out this week to a local realtor. Everything we do in the buy, fix, and flip world is based off of an after repair value. I don't really know what that is. Beds, baths, within a half mile, 1 mile radius, square footage, finishes. What does that look like? What is that number? And if a realtor begins to wrap their head around how we think about a single family property, our bread and butter as an investment, they become massively valuable. So an after repair value, let's say it's $500,000. Well, the first number to take off of that $500,000 of after repair value would be my profit number. Well, what do I want to make? If I'm an investor, if you're going to be a realtor investor, what do you want to make on that deal? Now, when the market was more on the buyer's side to the seller's side, I would put in there 15 to 20% profit margin on the after repair value. So let's say it's 10% in this example. So 50,000 comes off of that $500,000 after repair. That 50,000, I want that as profit. That's what I earn for the work and the knowledge and the expertise that I have. But then I've got the cost of capital. Am I using a hard money lender? Am I using a private lender? Am I going to pay points and interest? Am I going to pay 2 points? Am I going to pay 1 point? Am I going to pay 50 bips? What does the numbers look like? So then reducing my offer price or my after repair reduction down to an offer price, I got to take the cost of capital out of there. We'll say again, I don't know, 5%. So another 25,000 comes off. How long am I in the deal for? Usually 6 months. I then got to take off the cost of construction. That's where the variables come in a lot of the times. And then my soft costs, cost to buy, cost to sell, carrying costs, insurance costs, those nature. And when I take all of those numbers down, it brings me to a place of what's called a maximum allowable offer. And that generally on a high level is around 30% of the after repair value if you put it all together. So in an example like that, $500,000 minus the 30%, let me do the math real quick. My maximum allowable offer would be $350,000 on a $500,000 property. Now, there's a lot of moving parts in there. I get it. Construction numbers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if a realtor understands that, just because I can buy it for 400 and I can sell it for, 450 or 475, doesn't mean it's a deal. Doesn't mean it's a deal. It's the realtor that's kind of flipped with those numbers that don't have any meat attached to that. They become, they move off to the side. But if a realtor comes to me and says, hey, Dave, I ran some construction numbers with a few guys that I've used in the past. I think we can do this for XYZ. I think here's my comps. Here's what I'm using for a comp package. This is actually off market. The seller said they'll entertain offers before it goes on the MLS. Let's give it our highest and best cash offer. I can list if you want on the back end, which I would always do to a realtor who brings me a deal. But then what I would do is when that realtor shows their value, I'm going to include them in the deal. I don't want to just do one. I want to do multiple deals. It's the realtor that gets me mad. I'll be frank with you. It's the realtor who gets me mad, who says, this is a great deal. I run the numbers. I see that it's not a great deal. And I'll say to him, you know what? This is a deal that we should do together. I'll put up some of the deposit money, 10,000. You put up 10,000. Let's do this one together. And you know what they do, Justin? They go, they start backing away, right? They start backing away. Do not, I beg of you, everybody who listens, I beg of you, I'm begging now, do not be loose with somebody else's money, right? Treat it like it's your own money every single time you go into that deal. And just understand it's a volume game. So again, the realtor who understands the mechanics and the numbers that we use behind it, they become super useful because you guys are out on the street a lot more than we are. You know what's going on in specific markets. So I hopefully that's helpful. It's a team effort.
Yeah, somebody who makes you money and saves you time, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, how valuable is it when a real estate agent comes to the table with not just a great property, but with professionals who can help get that property across the finish line, whether it be contractors, whether it even be asset-based professionals. Is that helpful?
Yeah, of course it is. So now, you know what I am now? I'm now the money guy. And I always want to be the money guy at the end of the day. My goal is to be the bank, because when I'm the bank, I'm always in the most protected of positions. So as a realtor brings that full team to the table, let's use this $500,000 house again as an example. As a money guy, because I ran a hard money lending business, private lending business over the years as well, I want to see them with skin in the game. I want to see them put in 20% of the acquisition or the purchase price. So let's say we can buy this for 300. I want to see them come up with 60 grand, right? So if they come up with that 60 grand, I'm then more than happy to put in the rest of the acquisition price, and I'm going to fund that construction 100%. Now, what do I get for that? Well, I'm getting 2 points on the acquisition price. I'm also getting maybe 12%, 10%, 15%, depending on where the market is at any one time on that money. Valued over the course of a year, right? We do it out over 365 days. But most flips, if they're good flips, they're in and out in 4 to 6 months. So it's really only paying 7% on the money over 6 months instead of 14% over the 12-month period of time. So a realtor that does that is strong, because at the end of the day, most realtor flippers, that's what they want. They want that capital behind them, but don't expect to do it with no money down. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You might borrow from your parents, but if it goes wrong, mom and dad ain't going to be happy, right? So stick with pros who know the game, because a lender in that context, they're a partner. They're not just a lender, they're a partner, right? And make sure they're not lending to own, right? It's not a loan to own program, because there's a lot of sharks out there as well. Just do your due diligence at your real estate groups and wherever it is that you're networking. So they're super valuable for sure.
Well, I figured that would be the answer, but it's really interesting for me. As you know, Dave, I lead a company called Pro Insight, which is a digital platform where real estate agents host their professional network, right? And our platform enables them to make professional introductions to one another. And so our belief is that the very best real estate agents moving forward, those who have the best margins and the best overall client experience, will come with a team, right? Regardless of whether it's an investment property or a standard property, that the more professionals you can collaborate well with and bring that to the client, and fill any gaps that they might have in their own team with your team, it's really becomes a no-brainer, and you're able to really offer a level of service. I appreciate that. I've got another question here for you. Obviously, in the competitive landscape of flipping, right, of kind of real estate investing, where do you find your properties, right? I mean, at this point, you're a bit removed from that, not entirely, but are there any secrets that you can share with us today?
Yeah, there's no secrets, man. Yeah, it's not a secret. It's, as much as this can be hard to understand, direct mail marketing is still a nice pop. So there are various softwares out there that are data scrapes that pull down pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then having a strong direct mail marketing team to reach out to those properties. I mean, at the height of my flipping career, I was probably only spending 5 to 10,000 a month on my direct mail. But if I'm making 10, 15, 20% ARV on a five to $750,000 home, my marketing costs are covered, right? It's okay. The scary part about finding those houses is you watch all those Benjamin Franklins go out the door and you're sitting there going, oh, please come back with friends. Please come back with friends. Because marketing can be scary, right? It can be scary. I know guys who spend $500,000 a month on Facebook ads, not necessarily for flipping, but for other businesses. So it can be unnerving to watch that capital go, and especially with direct mail marketing because it has a cycle to it, right? It has consistency to it that has to be in place. So I've seen great results with that. I've even done some of the old school stuff, signs in yards and we buy houses cash and all of that stuff. It works. I've done deals from pretty much everything. The magic to finding off market deals is your network relatable to your net worth, right? Who do you know? Are you talking to the mailman, the plumber, the firefighter, the police officer, the teacher? If you're at your BNI and all you're doing is talking to somebody in a different profession to you, you might not find those opportunities there. So, being able to bring good relationships to other realtors, right? Partnerships. Hey, I've got a team set up, Charlie. You don't have a team set up, but you found the house. Let's incorporate you into this deal in some component. Why don't you learn it as well? The thing I love about flipping houses is that it's more collaborative. If I go in with a collaboration mentality instead of a competitive mentality, I've usually done better. Like it comes around. It really does. It comes around full circle where, a realtor will say, hey, I remember that guy, Dave Seymour, the handsome devil from the TV show with the funny accent, right? But no, joking aside, it comes back around again. So treating everybody with respect and building that business reputation, the law of the universe, your faith, whatever you believe in, it'll send you deals that you can do. It really will. But you got to get out there. There's no good saying there's no deals. And then somebody like me says, well, what did you do to find them? Well, no, I looked on MLS. Well, guess what? There ain't that many deals on MLS right now. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well,
yeah.
you're speaking my language again, Dave, because at the end of the day, what I heard you say is that the most valuable resource you can have towards finding great deals is through your network, right? Having
It
a
is.
powerful, robust
Absolutely.
network of people who you're
Yeah.
adding value to and having the right conversations with will open the right doors. So
hmm
again, that's really become a theme of my career, and I believe it wholeheartedly. It's fun to hear someone who's done $9 billion in transactions validating that for
It takes a team. It takes a team to do that much business, and we're doing large commercial stuff. So it's not 9 billion in single families. I don't think I can carry that much headache.
Now, how do you calculate your ROI when you're looking at
Yeah, there's the numbers as I gave before. That ROI for me, I want to be anywhere between 10 and 20% of the after repair value. That's my ROI. That's my return on investment.
So
And
you
if at the
start
end of the day, I look down in the bottom right hand corner of my underwriting template and I say, okay, if the ARV goes up a little, my ROI could be 12 to 18%, whatever. If I can save a little on the construction, am I getting 3 bids on my workman's comp insurance? Every dollar makes a difference, but some people focus on the dollar amount for an ROI. Some people focus on the percentages for an ROI. You can look at a deal and you can say, okay, if this deal goes exactly as I planned it out, which they never do, by the way, but if it does, I can make $50,000, $100,000 on this one property over a 4 to 6 month period of time. Is that worth getting out of bed? Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. The people who say no, well, what if you systematize that approach and you did 5 of those a month? Is it worth getting out of bed for 50 to 100 grand times 5 every month? I don't know about you. That's a pretty good business model, right? So now I like that ROI. So it's all scalable, right? It's the DNA of the individual. And once you systematize a house flipping project, to be frank with you, man, It's easy. There's no heavy lifting anymore. And when you build up those relationships, I can pick up the phone. I got 10 contractors, a couple of hard money guys, and they're fighting with each other for points and interest. And I'm in the middle of it going, yeah, keep fighting, guys, because it's going to be better for my ROI. You know what I mean? So, but that, again, that takes time and the network. And what you've shared about the platform that you have in your business, I mean, that's worth gold, brother. That's worth gold. You got to remember, I'm old school. I used to have to go to real estate investment club meetings with a little pile of business cards. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm a real estate investor, and I have my little pitch. You know what I mean? That's how I started. But I never gave up. For real, I did. Will you be my friend? Will you be my Valentine? That's what it felt like. But in the world that we live in, and systems and platforms, SaaS platforms like yours, I mean, it just takes out all of the garbage and allows you to go direct to source, which is what we're all looking for at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
that's how I figure my ROI. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Who have you found to be the most valuable partners in this process? I mean, you've mentioned contractors. You obviously mentioned hard money lenders. Are there others that you would say are essential for somebody who is either a real estate agent who is wanting to
Yeah.
really bring value to a flipper that they could bring with them, or
Yeah.
even an investor saying these are the critical members I need to have on the team?
Yeah. Yeah. Great questions, brother. As I said, the right realtor, right mindset. Your construction team will make or break your deal. Understand that nobody is going to love your money or your house as much as you do, no matter how much you try and put that message out there. So having a strong contracting team, a strong realtor who understands the market, can bring you the value in the deal. And then it's the fundamentals. Do you have a great attorney? In Massachusetts, we're an attorney state for closings. It's not just a straight up office for the closing. So do you have a good attorney who can keep your contracts tight? Do you have flexibility in your contracts? Do you have flexibility with your lender? So the legal rep, your hard money, private money representations, your documentation has to be tight. Are you doing business in an LLC, or are you doing it in a trust? I like to do them in a trust. There's a lot of variables in there, but these people create the lock on my door to keep me and my family safe at the end of the day. And then on top of that, your insurances. Don't ever skimp on your insurances. Builders risk insurance. No, it ain't cheap. But it's everything, man. I mean, I got horror stories up the yin yang to tell you about guys who cut corners, man. Don't cut corners, right? So insurance, legal, contractor, realtor, and then don't go crazy on your design eye stuff, man. People come in there and they personalize a flip, and it's not a good thing to do, because your taste may not be the taste of the majority. And remember, we're always selling to the majority. So anyway, team members are important. There's a couple of them right there.
Boy, super valuable, Dave. Super valuable. Tell us a little bit about the world that you're in now, right? You've really kind of had this upward ascension, again, flipping homes at mass scale at a super productive and profitable rate. Now you've moved into a spot where you're really raising money to take down bigger properties. Walk us through that a little bit, and how somebody who's really interested in kind of what the end game could look like for a flipper, right? Because sometimes it's like, well, this is a great business, but it's also can be a bit of a grind and a little bit risky. If someone says, look, I still want to be in real estate investing, but maybe not in the way that it looks as a full-time flipper, walk us through kind of your progression, and maybe even what opportunities might be for others that would want to participate with you.
Yeah, again, great question. So, you buy a house, you flip a house, you make some money. Guess what? That's a job. That's a job. It's a well-paying job if you do it right, but it's still a job. It's still trading time for money. I got to a point in my career where I started looking at the landscape, and I don't know whether it's entrepreneurship or just a little bit of ADD, but I get bored very quickly, and I kind of reinvent myself. And there was just a transition in an upward trajectory from flipping to money to where we are today. And the magic is what's called passive investing. I've got realtors who invest with my company, and I use realtors because that's primarily your crowd. They might earn $250 a year, maybe $300 a year, maybe a little bit more. Well, depending on their lifestyle and depending on their tax exposure, they turn around and they look at a company like mine and they say, "Hey, Dave, I got 100,000, I got 50,000, I got 200 grand. And I want to stop giving it to the IRS. What's out there in the world of commercial real estate investing where I can get some of these benefits of deferring taxes and et cetera, et cetera. So when we have those kinds of conversations, what we do as a private equity company, and all that means is we pull capital from qualified individuals, primarily what are called accredited investors. An accredited investor is determined by the SEC as an individual who earns 200,000 a year or more. As an individual, 300,000 as a family unit, or $1 million in net worth, not including primary residence. Those individuals are allowed to come and play in my sandbox. And what that means is they could be the pool. Like I've got a 16 unit deal that we're about to pop on in Cape Hayes in Southwest Florida. And that deal will be maybe a $3 million raise. I'll bring in 6, 10, maybe a few more investors in there, and they'll come in on the land acquisition. And then we'll spend also some of their capital and our capital on the development process and the architecture and the engineering, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll stay in that deal with us as we stabilize it. This is a smaller deal. We stabilize it. We'll get the bank loan for construction. We do that on our side. And then we build the buildings. And we come out of construction capital into permanent financing. And at that point, our investors start to get a check in the mail. It's just passive income. They don't have to do anything. I don't deal with tenants, toilets, and trash. They don't deal with the city. They don't deal with the contractors. They don't have to put their PFSs on the line for financing. And in return for their trust in us, they get to walk away with 70% of the profits as a group. And then we as a company, the GP, we take 30% of the profits. Mm-hmm. And what that can mean, depending on the deal, is anything from over a 4 to 5, maybe a 5 to 7 year hold period. If an investor puts up 100,000 with us, they have an expectation over 5 to 7 years of, say, 2x multiple. So they would get their 100 grand back, plus they would make another 200,000. So that's a 2x or a two equity multiple on their capital. So not bad for 7 years, right? Yeah. So that's the structure, very simplified, in which we live. But again, those types of deals are pigeonholed for a specific group. There are what are called sophisticated investors, which are one level below, but I need to address them differently and interact with them differently according to SEC regulations as the GP, the general partner. But investors come in as an LP. So that's where the bigger numbers come in, because you build in 106 units, 300 units, or you're buying an existing multifamily property, which is great because we reposition those cash flow usually on day one. Not well, but then when we make those assets better, the cash flow ends up being better for these investors as well. So that's a great business model for people who don't want to do any work. They just want to reap the rewards. And we need them as much as they need us.
Well, I think it's a great trajectory, right? I mean, if you were to look at a real estate agent who right now maybe is early on in their career and they're saying, okay, I'm going to invest some of my proceeds into potentially flipping properties, right? Mm-hmm. And you get up to a certain level of capital that you say, I recognize that I only have so much time in the day to continue to do this. I really want to invest with somebody who understands real estate at the highest level and can really hone in on properties that allow me to enjoy the economies of scale with other investors without having to be all in with my time, right? I can be in with my money and not in with my time.
That's it.
And
That's it.
Yeah, it's a nice ascension, right?
What's great about that strategy also is that we have a lot of investors who just juice their retirement accounts through these strategies. So the other thing to take into consideration is if you're passive with your capital going in, earned income, for example, your commissions from real estate, that money now reaps the rewards pro rata for all the tax write-offs that we get in the commercial real estate world. So, there'll be some investors, their K1s are really quite nice because they've received X amount of dollars and they haven't had to, sometimes, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney, no legal or financial advice, but sometimes, their K1s are a wash. So that money in essence has been tax-free capital because of just their structure. And again, everybody's individual. Massive, massive opportunities there on the tax front. And then on top of that, they can do the same thing with retirement accounts. An individual realtor, if they don't have a solo 401k right now, which is a solo 401k, one business participant, that can put massive amounts of money away tax free, and that can be used in an investment situation as well. So find somebody in your team, man, that does solo Ks, because that's a game changer. 67,000 tax free every year as an individual can go in there, so it's pretty substantial.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. You've given us all kinds of thoughts on how to deepen the value of the network that we're building, and also potentially do some collaboration with you. Dave, it's been such a pleasure. You've taught us a lot and shown why you've really ascended to the highest levels of real estate. I've got one last question for you here before we wrap up, which is this: you're obviously a big thinker, right? And what does Dave do to continue to be a big thinker, to expand your possibilities, right? You get to a certain point and you kind of get restless, and now you've expanded to a new level. What advice would you have for somebody who wants to experience that same career ascension, that wants to continue to expand and grow their possibilities? What advice would you have?
Yeah, I don't care who you are. It's scary. It's scary, dude. It's scary stepping up. It's scary stepping out. If you're not able to wrestle fear and kind of do it anyway, you know what I mean? Then scalability and ascension is going to be a challenge for you. So how do you ascend and scale in a fearful sense, right? Like, I feel fear from it. It goes back to what you do. I look to my left and I look to my right. Who's got my 45s? Who's got my back? What's my team look like? Because on my own, yeah, it's a little dodgy. But if I got locking arms with some good guys and some great girls, and we're going at it, and it's head down and we go together, I don't care how high the ceiling is. Somebody's going to give me a leg up. I'm going to do the same thing for them. So a strong team allows for ascension and scalability. But just wishing and wanting and dream, on November the 28th, I'm going to be a billionaire because I wrote it in my diary. It doesn't work that way, silly person, right? Steps, process, lean into it, have faith, pray on it, take care of your family and your friends, and good things will happen. But, overcome that fear with team. That's how I did it.
Man, I feel like you've done a commercial for what we're doing at Pro Insight, and that definitely wasn't planned. So, but it's fun to hear.
Look, man, it is what it is. Look, I know what you do, and I could pretend you don't. But if I'd had what you have when I started, who knows?
Yeah.
Right. I did it the hard way. I really did. And I'm not on your platform. I'm not using those systems or services, but it's just that's the power of many, dude. It's the power of many. But make sure you're aligned. You got to be aligned. If you're not aligned, it can be a challenge. You don't want this, right? Yeah. I like smooth sailing with my crew. That's what I'm looking for, So.
Oh, I love it. It's been such a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for all you've contributed. How do people find you? How do they reach out to you? How do they learn more about, your freedom venture?
Yeah, I told you I'm old school. You can actually call me. The office number is 781-922-4418. Just let them know that you heard me on Justin's podcast. Dave@freedomventure.com. Or just Google it, and find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn profile is probably the best place to find me as well. So I'm out there. You can find me.
Dave, again, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And to everybody listening today, my final request is this. They are 3 simple words. You know what they are. They are go think bigger. Appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for helping us do that today.
Thank you, man.
Now, before you go, remember, big thinkers and high achievers take action. Here's one way to do this. Find me on social media and send me in a direct message one aha that you're going to take action upon